All right, guys, so we're hanging out in here with George. And if you guys remember, George was, well, he's one of my best friends, still is, not a was, but he also was my main cameraman down when I lived down south. And we went on many, many, many adventures together, all kinds of crazy stuff and international trips and learning. I taught him, gator handling and all that stuff. So we had a lot of people asking about your perspective. Like, how do you know me? How did you meet me? All that kind of stuff. So we'll start with that. People are asking, how do you know me? And how did you get introduced to this stuff?
Yeah. So I used to follow Chris on Instagram before anything else. And he was always strangely nice because back then he would actually answer his DMs. And I don't want to say actually, never mind, that sounds mean. But he would answer.
I didn't have as many back then.
Yeah.
No, that's true. I mean, okay, let's back up. This was how many years ago?
Yeah. Long time. I was like maybe 19, right?
Yeah, so
I'm 26 now, so
yeah, whatever that math is.
yeah, I can't do that.
but anyways, just back to the DM thing is that I didn't have as many then. Now I have so many. It is you cannot keep track of it. So like back then I had a little bit of a following, but I don't think I probably didn't even have 1 million back then. Come here, Bella.
And but he would run a bunch of shark dives, right? And after the shark dives, I'd go to the Everglades and explore. I'd ask him a question every now and again, and he'd respond. It'd be kind of cool, right? And I was like, oh, this, cool dudes answering my questions from an aspiring young Everglades explorer for the most part. And of course, all of the shark dives I'd go on, and I just went on enough of them. And there was a point in time where he was snap it, his debit. He needed someone at one of the places we used to work at. Oh, he used to work at, that he was the manager of at the time. And he was like, hey man, I'm kind of down a guy. I want to be an alligator educator. And honestly, at first I thought he was joking.
You ignored me.
Yeah, I literally ignored him. I was like, yeah, haha, funny. And then I actually saw him post like a job application on his story. And I was like, wait, actually, I am quite interested. And he's like, what's really funny is like, I just sent him a long message of like, kind of stuff that I did. But he's like, oh, thank you for your resume. And I was like, literally at the bottom, all right, I can send you a resume. And he just like, didn't read it all. I was like, good enough, come over. And he prefaced it something in a funny way, like alligator educator, like I mentioned. And I was like, I wasn't entirely sure what that meant, but I came over anyways. And he's like, yeah, you're going to be an alligator wrestler. And I was like, okay, I guess.
Well, because it's both.
Yeah.
She went under, so that's why I'm like changing my orientation. Because on the surface, she's actually pretty good and chill. But once she goes under, she really likes to try to take out your legs.
Yeah.
So I'm watching. You can continue. I'm going to make sure she doesn't creep up for the legs here.
Yeah. But yeah, that was cool. And I was like, I remember it was interesting too, because it was kind of like a culture shock. Now I'm really used to it, but I remember the very first day, it was Chris, another guy named Kevin, and a Paul, and I met like the whole alligator wrestling family, and they're all a bunch of weirdos. Specifically, wait, no, should I? Anyways, I get here, and there's a guy who's like rapping for 5 minutes straight.
Just going on and on and on.
Right.
It was Kevin.
Yeah, it was Kevin. And it was really funny because I'm like, he's trying to show me what's happening, and there's just a guy follow him rapping. What was it?
Just nonstop rapping Eminem.
From like Eminem. Anyways, so culture shock, bunch of weirdos, and then eventually they're just sitting there showing me all of the things that could go horrifically wrong. And I had multiple.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, they're both under.
Let's shift. I'm going to get this way a little bit.
She's coming.
Yeah, here, let me do it. Oh, she's going. Yeah, they both are.
Being weird.
You guys stop being creeps.
Big Mac's down there being a
yeah,
menace.
Well, yeah, so that's usually the first thing I show somebody when I'm like actually starting to train them on like gator handling. Is a bunch of photos and videos of people getting bit and just like all the horrible things that can happen and be like, are you sure you want to do this? Because these are possible repercussions and this is why you need to take this seriously. So that's always a good one, is just like, Here's a guy who got his hand completely ripped right off by an alligator. Here's another guy who got his arm over here ripped off by and just go through the list.
The one that got me the most was a picture of a guy with his own thumb in his palm of his hand. Like you could see like the nubs and the flesh kind of
and just
off
holding it in his own hand.
right there. And I was like, should I be doing this? Is this a good, it wasn't a good idea, but I don't even know what I was thinking. I don't even know why I agreed to it, but it's definitely led to so many fun adventures and many life-threatening scenarios that I've barely survived.
I mean, hey, life-threatening is all relative, right?
It is all very, very relative.
Like when you don't know what you're doing, you know, I mean, right now, I'm totally calm and comfortable with this, but she's totally eyeing me and thinking about jumping to bite me right now. To me, that's normal. You know, like your idea of normalcy becomes completely different. So if you're waist deep in the water as a normal person and this alligator is sitting in front of you thinking about literally lunging up to bite you, and you have another much larger one underwater creeping towards you, you know, for me, that's normal. It's not a big deal. But for somebody else, that could be like the most dangerous moment they've ever had in their life, you know? And so that's one way I try to frame it too, is like, keep in mind, that's why I do like to show some of that injury stuff. Yeah, I don't show injury stuff. I don't post about it because for the general public, it just becomes fear mongering, you know? And like, even when I have friends who have like a massive injury, I'm like, man, depending on how much notoriety it gets, depends on whether or not I'm going to address it in like a photo or a video or whatnot, and whether or not they're comfortable with it, of course. But like, I don't really like to focus on that kind of stuff because it really does give the general public the wrong idea, and it reinforces fear and hatred towards the animal. But if you're somebody who's about to work with the animal, I'm going to inundate you with that kind of stuff, because you need to realize these are the repercussions of what could happen, what could go wrong, you know?
Another thing too that you can never really state enough till it actually happens, right? So you could say everything you want to say, you could scare them as much as you can scare them. For the most part, it isn't until you have your first close call do you look at your hand and being like, how will I live? That could have been gone. Yeah. How's my life gonna be without a hand or something like that?
Yeah. And now that you have been doing this for however many years, and then now you have new people under you, and you're trying to tell them that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a totally different thing. And like people, they have a hard time taking it seriously.
Yeah.
You know? And like, yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it, is like, until you've had a close call, you don't know. Okay, here's a better way to say it. You don't understand your own mortality until it is legitimately at risk. That's an important one that I think is something that cannot be taught and is truly indescribable for someone. So like, I've dealt with that a lot with, I mean, gators, sharks, all kinds of different situations, and people don't want to take it seriously. And I can sit here and talk about risk until I'm blue in the face. And so many people message me about like, I want to handle alligators. I want to go dive with wild alligators. I'll pay you. Will you take me out there? And I'm like, no. And they're like, I don't care. I'm not afraid. And I'm like, well, then definitely no. Like, fear is the wrong word, but if you're not afraid, you shouldn't be doing that stuff. Like, and again, fear is not the right word, because I'm not afraid of them at all. But if there's not a level of like, I feel like the English language doesn't have the proper terms to adequately describe the feeling. It's not fear, but it is a realization of impending doom and death. That's what I'm getting at. And like, again, there's not a proper term for that, but like, I absolutely have that when I'm working with these animals, and like, I always do. And that's what you need. And again, it's not fear, but it's an understanding that like, at any moment, you could literally be ripped to pieces alive. And you need to know that, and that should make you have some sort of feeling inside of you. And if you're like, I don't care, I'm not afraid, you do not understand the seriousness of the situation that you're about to get yourself into. Right? Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah. And I remember you also saying a couple of things. So you're telling me, you're pointing at an alligator and you're like, this thing does not care what you've done in life.
I love this line.
Yeah, you could be a billionaire with all the money in the world. You could have saved thousands of people, whatever it is. He's going to turn you into poop.
Yep. No, I love that one. That's one So what I usually tell people is, I'm like, the alligator doesn't care. Like George just said, he doesn't care. I always say it like this. I'm like, he doesn't care how much money you have. He doesn't care if you're a president. He doesn't care if you are the most famous person in the world or the most loved or the most hated. And then I see a little bit of Carl Sagan there. And I'm like, everything you've ever accomplished, everything you've ever done, every memory you have, experience you have, all these amazing things that you've done in your life will be reduced.
Oh, you freak.
She's coming for you.
Oh, she's coming hard. Stop.
Yep.
Come back up.
Oh, I was right on that line, man.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. She ruined it, and she doesn't even want to surface. So
Yeah, she wants to stay down there and be a creep.
Sorry.
But I love that line because it's borrowing a little bit from Sagan, where it's like everything you've ever done, all of your experiences, the accumulation of all of your successes and failures will be reduced to this. And I literally hold a gator turd and be like, you will be turned into that. That's a really good way to put it. Like everything you know and done and blah, 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 turn into this. Because you, at the end of the day, as much hubris as we have as humans and how important that we think we are, you are still a walking, talking hunk of meat, and that thing wants to eat you. So that's one I really do like to emphasize a lot. Now, then also people ask, we're going off a lot of the comments we got when we went live together the other day. She wants you.
Stop.
She definitely wants to get you. What were some of your first impressions of working with the alligators and working with me with the gators and like all that kind of stuff? Like,
So, first off, amazing, right? So to get,
just I want to see what she does. Back up a little bit and just see what she kind of. Oh yeah,
just
just
opens
targets
my mouth
more towards
me.
you.
Yeah. Still under the water, not even at the surface. Stop. I'm trying to talk.
Bella, Bella, come here, Bella. Stop harassing him, Bella. Bella, Bella, come here. She wants to get you. Like Big Mac's saying, oh. Bella,
It's a Big Mac. I was like, huh?
Bella, you come here. Yeah, pay attention.
So, to give you guys an idea, from my perspective, before everything, yeah,
Come here. Take me by the hand.
so my experience with crocodilians was very limited, as in just individuals out in the wild that I'd look at while either hiking, fishing. I'd explore I'd be looking for snakes and stuff. I'd see the alligators, I'd see the crocodiles, and I'd kind of just look at them from a distance, not try to bother them. But there was always a part of me though that wanted to get a little bit more personal, and that was an opportunity, and being around them is amazing. Seeing how graceful yet goofy yet cute yet terrifying all at the same time was a foot in the door of the whole animal world, that like this opportunity that Chris gave me. And of course I watched too much Steve Irwin as a kid, so that probably led to a couple screws being loose, as some people would say. But yeah, it was awesome. And I would say one of the I like to think I have a decent judge in character. I don't think I would have, let's say if I had a different person introduce me, I probably would not have continued with them, because they wouldn't, I don't want to say at the same level, but he had a different understanding of, for example, I don't want to say my needs, but he's a great teacher. And it's, I'm also just like, I'm like losing thought process, because I'm also seeing what's happening over here. She come back?
Yeah, she's trying to. She's lining up at me.
Oh, and it got darker. Water's getting greener.
So I had the stick preemptively in her way, and she touched it and like felt around it and then put some teeth on it to make sure.
But yeah, Chris is a wonderful teacher, and if it wasn't for that, I probably would have bailed a long time ago, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So another background of me, I did a lot of martial arts. I've trained in a bunch of combat sports and stuff like that, and I could tell that he knew what he was talking about. I felt like I could trust Chris, for the most part.
For the most part. Well,
right?
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was going to say too, that So it's very distracting trying to like
Yeah.
have this like conversation and also hunt it at the same time.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I always say when I'm like training somebody is like, in the first 6 months, if you get hurt, that's my fault. You know, that means I'm a bad teacher. So you should, I should be able to keep you perfectly safe on everything in the first like 6 months. But then after that, once you kind of know what you know, and then you are able to start exploring more in your handling and your abilities and, like learning the animals. Because a lot of this is like, I can only show you so much. Just like in martial arts, I can drill with you all day and teach you different techniques and things like that. But until somebody actually hits you in the face, it's like everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And that's very true in martial arts and also very true with animals too. And so that's why I say, like, until you have one of these things really try you and you're like on your own, you're not gonna, like, you don't, again, you don't get it, like your own mortality and that kind of thing,
Sorry for rambling.
Yeah, it's just hard to do both here and not get grabbed in the leg here. But there's another point I was going with that. I don't know. Did you get what I was trying to get at?
Yeah. So you could be strongest, toughest dude until you're. It's like sparring, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Until you're pushed, you don't know how you're going to react. So, like for example, you could train everybody in the science of like the movements. They can do everything right until you again face your mentality. We'll see whether or not you're like you crumble. You panic.
So we find out you got grit or not.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, that's exactly it. And like
some people just don't got it.
Yeah, either you have it or you don't. And I can train anybody to be adequate. You know what I mean? But like it takes a specific kind of person to be like a professional dealing with these animals. Like I can train just about anybody to be safe around them and to be able to do like basic stuff, but to be able to do the real dangerous stuff, like it does take a specific kind of person to be able to do that. And you got to have that grit, you got to have that fighting instinct. You really do. Another one I would say is like, once you, I guess, I make so many martial arts analogies to this because it is like a martial arts, the art of gator handling, gator shido. But another thing on that too is like once you kind of have an idea and you know what you're doing, there's going to be a lot of stuff you're going to have to figure out on your own. I can only show you so much because a lot of this is also like just a vibe in a way. That's not the right way to put it, but I can't think of a better way to say it, where like there are so many things that I see with an alligator that I cannot describe to you, and it's like a feeling.
It's almost instinct at that point.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to struggle to say.
Which you only really get from being observant and being around them. And
just like in martial arts, how'd you know to block that? He telegraphed. I couldn't tell you how he did, but I know he did. And that's what it is. That's what it is, So they telegraph too. And if you don't, telegraphing is like, like if we were fighting, we're like, my movement lets you know, that I'm about to.
She's coming down too.
She's coming too. Yeah. But yeah, in martial arts, when you telegraph, it's basically you are giving away what you're about to do before you do it.
I am about to make a big punch.
Yeah. So I know it's coming, so I know how to react to it first. So same thing with them, although they are so much more subtle at it. So like their intentions can be very hard to read. They don't have expressions. Okay. Like, there's no smile, there's no grimace. It's just like, it's just an alligator's face. So it's really hard to read their intent sometimes. And like, I will know that they're going to do something. I'll be like, that gator's thinking about trying to get you, and like, I know it's coming. I don't even know how to describe to you that I know it's coming.
It's just the way he looks. He's just looking like it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I feel like that's a good one that is very hard to teach someone on. And that's where I was coming back to, like, first 6 months, I'm going to teach you a bunch of stuff, do all this kind of stuff safe. But then after that, just like in fighting, you're going to have your own experiences, and then you kind of become your own person off of that.
Another thing too is, I would say the level of handling I would do normally is, how do I put this? So like I like to consider myself an alligator handler, not particularly an alligator wrestler, right? Um, some of the stuff Chris would have to do, I would never do because he was kind of forced to do it at a relatively young age. Um, of him having to like full on gladiatorial fights with an alligator that wants to like kill you.
Full on kill you.
So I kind of don't know where I'm going with this, but the alligators that I would generally work with are a little bit more habituated, right? Granted, this
They'll
guy
still grab you.
He'll still grab you, kill you, whatever.
It's hard to articulate.
It's very hard to articulate, but to give you an idea, right? I remember Chris was showing me the ropes. We had just a new 11-foot alligator inside of the enclosure, and Chris was like, "Hey, want to see something cool?" And he literally just like runs, jumps behind it, and this thing got abducted by aliens. He has no idea what's happening. It's trying to kill everybody and everything. And he basically placed his feet behind its back legs and was kind of just dancing with it with his hands behind his back. And I just remember being like, I don't even know what I'm looking at right now. So could you get anything of what I'm trying to say right now?
Do you just mean like a different skill set?
Yeah.
Like a different skill level?
Yeah, kind of. So speaking of first moments and realizations of mortality,
what was your first moment?
Yeah, I guess I have two that I remember. I don't know which one came first, but I remember which one came first. Anyways, I want you to picture there are two alligator wrestlers that are very well. What am I trying to say? My brain's totally not working because Big Mac's scaring me right now because I'm looking at him. And
I heard you say his name.
Yeah, I said his name, and now he's turning towards me. But let me start over. So one of my first moments specifically was the first time I was dealing with an alligator that didn't have tape on it, right? So that alligator's name was Rick, and he would do these really crazy head shakes. And to try to tell you the situation I'm in an alligator pit. This is probably my first month at it, I would say. And it's raining, like as hard as it could rain in South Florida, just about. And we're under a metal roof, so you just hear all of this rain
deafening,
pounding. And I just remember this alligator is shaking me so hard. I have all of the strength in my hand, keeping it shut. There's still a gap forming, and it's just incessant. And I remember I said, "Help, help, 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 help." And then Chris and Paul were like, ha, 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 ha. Well, because they knew that I had it, right? Oh my God. But in that moment, it was just me, right? I had to commit.
And you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those, like, if I'm going to save you from like getting your arm ripped off. And I knew you weren't going to get your arm ripped off, but like, you got to handle this. It's your fight right now.
Yeah. If I had like loosened my grip at all, hands going inside, something's happening.
You're getting crunched.
Yeah, I'm getting crunched. And I remember the second time, this is when I had upgraded enough to be able to do shows with him standing over me, basically, right? And the same thing happened with funny enough, the alligator's name was McLovin. But same situation where this time I was preoccupied with trying to speak. I had the microphone on and I was speaking for the first time. And I got shook so hard, he actually popped my grip. His open mouth came back around and hit the palm of my hand. Luckily, my hand was stiff, so nothing went in. And then everything went black for a second. I remembered I was off the alligator, but my hand was bloody. I saw my thumb was still there, and I jumped back up on the alligator. And then from this point on...
And then drops an F-bomb over the mic.
Yeah. Well, no, it was really funny because Chris was being like, "Hey, man, are you okay?" And then I dropped an F-bomb and was like, "Heck no, I'm not. I'm freaking out." Over the microphone.
Over the microphone with a full audience.
Yeah, full audience of people.
"I'm freaking the F out, man."
Well, And what's really funny though is that I felt the alligator go for another round of shake, because that's the thing. I'm new. This alligator now, or like not now, but like not long after, would kind of gain my like he'd respect me a little bit more, so he would stop fighting me as hard. Funny enough, right? When he's like, oh, he's not a pushover anymore. Funny, but I could feel him go for another round of really hard shakes, and then this part, you know, I held with all my grip. And I also, again, yelled something I should not have said over the microphone. And I think Chris almost fired me then. Because I couldn't, at the time, I could not control my language.
Yeah, so that's the one too, is you're doing shows.
Yeah.
So like
the audience.
And with George, like when I decided to ask him if he wanted to work work these animals, I was like, I know he can handle the animals and you're going to learn that. I did not know if you'd be able to handle doing the show parts. Because that's a whole nother dimension of like, you got to make sure these things aren't going to kill you. You also have to be able to speak publicly and do a show with like 200 people watching you fight for your life. And like, and again, like have things go wrong and be in really bad situations and not drop an F-bomb over the mic.
Which I'm pretty good at.
Now you are.
I haven't done that since. He did a really good job at scaring me. He's like, I don't know if this is going to work out, man. And I was like, no.
So one of like, of course, then the next logical question is, wow, George, that's really crazy and cool for one of your moments. Chris, what is your moments? I don't even remember. Honestly, it's been so long, but that story reminded me of one that is really good. And this isn't one of the first ones, but this is a good one. And I can't even remember my first one. It's again, I'm not even trying to be like, it's been so long. I'm not trying to brag. Like I've got so many of them, I don't even know. But I had one that was pretty wild and crazy where, I think this is a good example of something else in martial arts and in fighting where you think you have control of a situation and coming to the realization that you do not have the level of control that you think you do, you know? And I think that's a really another, I don't know how this became like a life lessons story version, but this is one of those where like you do not have the level of control that you think you do in this situation. So anyways, I'm working with a completely wild alligator I'm trying to handle. I think we were trying to, what were we doing? I don't even remember. I don't remember if we were trying to move it or what, or if I was just doing a show. And like George alluded to earlier, like when I first started, I'm self-taught, guys. So like all of my Gator knowledge is really just me figuring it out as I go. And that's mainly because that's not saying I'm so cool. It's saying mainly that everybody else really sucked that much. It was just one of those. And so when I first started doing Gator wrestling shows, they were like real wrestling shows. They were a real gladiator. Like it is you versus the animal. It's trying to kill you because it thinks you're trying to kill it, and you are literally fighting for your life. And then eventually I altered my stuff as I learned more about them, and I'm like, wow, these are really intelligent animals. And then I started to train the alligators and work with them. Instead of man versus beast, it's man working with the animal and less of an antagonistic kind of, again, fighting for your life kind of thing. And we do train stuff now, you know, and like that's way better of a progression, and learning to train them and work with them is better for both of you. Anyways, this is before that. And so I'm jumping on a fully wild alligator that's like 9 foot. And so like between Bella and Big, no, it was a male though. So it was like more like Big Mac, but not that big. And I jump on him, and this thing is just beating the crap out of me. I think it was 9.5 foot. And so like almost like Stallone size, by the way. And it is just beating the crap out of me. And I'm supposed to be facing the audience. That thing spun me all the way around, and I'm like going that way, away from the audience. And they're just watching me from my butt crack hanging out, just getting the crap beat out of me by this alligator. And so, and it was really strong. It was stronger than I was. It was overpowering me, dragging me away. And, but I'm on his back. I got him by the neck, right? And I'm like, well, I need to get him facing the right direction. And so I go to, I'm holding on, and I go to try to move it like this. And as I try to shift this way, it just full death rolls between my arms, and it comes around like this. And then the jaws are like up here. So it spins around like that. And I ended up just full on headlocking it right there. And I am going to shift so that I can emphasize this without one of them trying to get me. Because she is creeping on me down there. But anyway, so then like I've got it like headlocked. The jaws are like right here trying to bite me. And I had to tuck my head back and it's just with the jaw trying to bite against me. But it's like that and it can't. And I am just full on it on the ground like that. And it just continues to just thrash and try to death roll. And like one slip and it's got you by the head. Like that was one of those moments where I'm like, this is really bad. And that was one of the worst moments I've been where like, I've had plenty of moments you slip up and like, your arm's gonna get ripped off, your leg's gonna get ripped off. You know, this was like, no, it's gonna rip your head off your shoulders. And I mean, it was, again, that was a good, large, powerful alligator. And to have it like in a full headlock like that, and nobody could like really help you, you know, it was just me. There was no backup. And, super sketchy situation. And eventually I was able to just literally inch my way out until I could finally flip back on and take its back again and get back on where I need to be safe. But that was a super sketchy one. And the fact that I was stuck in that position with no one to help me was a big part of it. And that's why like it allowed me time to think about how screwed I truly was in that moment, because I had it for that and I'm just stuck there and I had to inch my way out from it because it was big enough of a gator to also pin me. Once it rolled like that, it had me pinned. So there's a mosquito trying to bite my face. It had me pinned so I couldn't just get back on it. I was laying on my side with it across my body and the jaws like here. So it was just an insane situation.
Ooh.
Yeah, that gave me enough time to consider what was going on.
So I guess that also plays into another, so like this is from the aspect of me first starting. Chris also mentioned it's not a matter of if, but when and how bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like
looking at him.
yeah, there's just so many people that will have, you know, a bunch of different bites and they were never that bad. Whereas there's one guy gets one bite and that's enough for him to like lose an arm.
Yeah. And I make the analogy of car accidents.
Yeah, that's a good
one. Where like you can have fender benders. You can have quite a few fender benders and you're fine. And somebody's like, wow, you ever been in a car accident? And you're like, oh yeah, I've had a lot of fender benders, you know, or whatever. And if you've had a lot of these fender benders, it does give you a false sense of security and you think it's not bad. Meanwhile, this other guy, his first car accident is totaled. And, you know, he like flies through the windshield and is paraplegic now, you know, and like that, it's the same thing with these guys. Like, even the simplest thing can go wrong. And then the next thing you know, your arm is taken off. And like, I feel like we are very, very fortunate because then that's all the comments too. It's like, oh my God, what's your worst bite? Thankfully, knock on wood.
Oh my God.
George and I have only had the fender benders. Yeah. You know, we've never had any serious incident, anything like that. You trying to creep up on me here. But we do know people who have. And that's the thing is where like, you don't get to choose how bad your bite is going to be. And you don't know if it's going to be, again, something that is life altering or life ending. And just things can go downhill so quickly and so dangerously. And that's something that's difficult to convey when you're teaching someone, you know, especially when, again, we know people who have had some major life-altering things happen to them, and you just don't know how it's going to go, you know? So I feel like that's a good one. But anyways, back to, I want to take advantage of the fact that George is here with us today and to just talk a little bit, because now we're going down like just crazy gator stories, more about like you when you were first learning and, you know, like your first kind of thoughts and opinions, and because that's something a lot of people have an interest in.
Yeah, I don't, again, just that Steve Irwin rabbit hole of me wanting to work with animals, not knowing how. And this is a wonderful life-threatening opportunity for me to have to experience these things. What else should I say?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of points, I guess, you know. We could wrap this one up. I think we covered a lot of good points. And
would you have anything to say? No? Okay.
Yeah, so I figured we hit a lot of good points. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Let us know in the comments what you guys think, what other questions you want to know, or stories you would want to hear about and all that kind of stuff. And maybe the next time he's up here, we'll try to hit him, you know. And thanks for watching, guys. You know, as always, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll see you all next time.